Hey guys, this is Cole Liker.
Hi, I'm Neil Collins.
You are listening to the Unused Substitute.
The Unused Substitute.
And you're listening to the Unused Substitutes.
Get off the bench!
Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood, I got a problem and it's complicated. Going through text and I just can't ignore the signs. Hear them now, it's so loud it hurts. Hear me growl, hear me howl when the full moon
Long throw, ball's gonna bounce down, it's free in the box. Bicycle kick! Goal! Rowdies! What a play! What a shot! And it's 1-0 Rowdies!
Good evening, everyone. You're listening to the Unused Substitutes live on Radio St. Pete, part of the Beautiful Game Network, and sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. No, you did not miss the theme music. There's some weird technical glitch going on tonight. In fact, this is our second time starting off the show before we just realized that we weren't actually on air. We were just plain recording. My name is Matt, and thanks to an update by the software system that we use for this the little show, that we can be in two different locations on either side of the Skyway Bridge. Looking at me from across the internet, not sitting next to me, is Steven. Steven, how are you doing?
Well, Matt, I am doing great, and you look great as well, despite the fact that your
Stop
family
lying.
seems to be like entirely sick.
Yeah, I'm the only... So can I just talk about last weekend for a little bit? Because when we started doing the first attempt at recording this and broadcasting it, and only we were just recording it, I literally had no idea what day it was. So last Friday, I'm sitting there in my classroom, and they come on the announcements over the PA over the entire building and say, teachers, before you leave today, make sure your rooms are packed up in case they end up opening up the schools as shelters. So we do all that stuff. I get home. I'm looking forward to a 3, maybe 4, maybe 5-day weekend. Turns out it was just 3. I get home. I run by Target. I get all the important hurricane supplies. I had Post-it notes. I had goldfish, and I had all 8 Fast and Furious movies. Everything you need. I can tell by the look on your face. You love that too. See, this is going to add a whole new dimension to the show now. I literally, but despite the fact that they were unwrapping a pallet of water right next to a giant display of White Claw, I did not go for any of the definitely basic hurricane supplies. The Post-it notes were for my classroom anyway. But I get home, my whole family's sick. So I didn't even make it to the game. I'll be honest, I haven't even watched the game yet because everyone was sick. We were trying to figure out when we were going back to work. Because my wife and I are both teachers, but in different counties. Neither of us got Tuesday off as well because we are not in Pinellas, Pasco, or Hillsborough. And then we had back to school night last night, which is why we didn't have the show on last night. Like I'm a mess. Short weeks where you have Monday off always screw me up because you still have to get to Friday, and it feels twice as long. Like a short week where the Friday is the off day, that's paradise. I'd be sitting here like drinking while I'm doing this, and it's not working. But yeah, I got home, everyone's sick. The whole weekend, I brought home all these papers are great, all these things to do. I didn't get crap done. I got nothing done all weekend. I didn't even get to go to. I didn't even get to watch the game. I haven't had a chance to watch it since then. I just know that Sebastian scored and we lost.
In other words, it's a really good thing that the hurricane didn't make a sudden westward track motion, because you would have been in for a really doozy of a hurricane party, considering that everybody was miserable at home.
Yeah, but I
a really bad mixture.
I have plenty of supplies on hand. I didn't have to go out and get anything. Let's just put it that way. So my other favorite thing about this was going back into the my real world kind of situation. So Hillsborough and Pinellas County announced like Friday afternoon that they were not going to be open Tuesday because they were going to open up as shelters in theory if a lot of evacuees were coming from the other coast over here. So I'm talking to my cousin who is the spokesperson for the Palm Beach County School District. And she says, that's insane. We haven't even announced that we're closed on Tuesday yet. And the storm was right there.
Oh, man.
But anyway, it did what what most everyone expected it to, unless you're one of the people in the comments, Facebook comments of certain weather people who think they found the one reason why it's just going to come and murder all of us in our sleep. Like I didn't even get lashed by feeder bands. This is such a disappointment.
I think we had 2 or 3 come through. Nothing crazy though.
We really didn't have any. It was gusty one day, but that was about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
By the way, this is now a weather podcast, which would suit you just fine.
We're enjoying the fact that the trough came in and did its job and came in right at time, and it's amazing the fact that we can plan out 5 days in advance and know pretty much exactly what's going to happen with a hurricane a week ahead of time almost. I think that's just a marvel of modern science. I mean, we all made joke about, putting Sharpies to maps and having fun with trying to guess where tracks are going to go and hurricanes are going to go. But the reality is the real folks that are in charge are great and they know what they're doing. And it's fantastic to watch it all play out.
You know what kind of scares me, though? Because it was really insane how they were able to extract the data like this far out and tell. I mean, not insane, but it just, they have the ability to see the troughs and the ridges and things that we don't normally see show up on some of these images and products. But I was reading today how the rollout of 5G for cell phone networks, that operates on the same frequency as the weather satellites, and they said there's the significant chance that it would cause a 30% reduction in ability to forecast stuff, going back to like the ability they had in the 1980s.
That is legitimate, apparently. From what I understand, a few weeks ago, granted, we're almost 10 minutes into the show, we're still talking weather. I love it.
We're not getting through the game review before Ryan Davis calls in, are we?
Yeah. No, I know that one of the, either it was like a head of NOAA or one of the department heads in FEMA, I'm not sure which organization it specifically was, which governmental acronym it was, did go on. He did make a presentation in front of Congress, was asking the FCC to delay sanctioning for the specific signal that was being used for 5G before they could do some more studies on how it would impact weather modeling. From what I understand, the FCC said that's a secondary thing in nature. We don't really care. Getting money out there for 5G is more important.
Shocking.
Yeah, I know. Shocking.
Shocking.
Surprise. So there is the potential that the margin of error for a lot of our modeling and a lot of our cones and data that we have could increase, which is really unfortunate.
By the way, I don't know if you saw my I attempted to make some good out of all this, because when I look at those forecasts and they call it the cone, it doesn't even look like a cone.
It's the bubble of uncertainty.
It's the bat signal of uncertainty. That at least sounds.
I actually saw that. I saw you. You tweeted that, I think, this week.
I think I tweeted it and put it on Facebook. That was one of those things where I thought I had to just kind of double post that. But let's pause here for a second. We've been teasing this for, I don't know, like a month now, and trying to make schedules work together. I even posted the other day that we had one of the exciting young new faces joining the team this year that a lot of people have been talking about was going to join us on tonight's show, just in time for us to, I guess, actually talk about the game itself. So we're going to bring on the new color commentator this year, Mr. Ryan Davis. Ryan, how you doing tonight? Can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear, guys.
Oh, nice. Our kind of brand is having technical difficulties, and it's acting up tonight, so we wanted to make sure everything was okay on your end. Thanks for calling in. How you been?
I've been great. Really excited to see this game on Saturday night and see how the Rowdies bounce back. So it should be fun.
All right, I want to get into a little bit of your background in a few minutes, but what we usually do at the top of the show, except we just started talking about weather for no good reason, was kind of review the recent game, and we pick out what we thought was good, bad, ugly, and whether or not it's something we need to worry about. And we haven't even got to that yet. So with you here, we're going to pick your brain a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So looking at that game back on Saturday night, 2-1 loss to Nashville. It's a big one for a lot of reasons because of the changes in the standings and positioning for playoffs and stuff like that. What went wrong for the Rowdies? What went right for Nashville? What did you see that you noticed?
Well, I think this is going to sum it up. You know, football or soccer is what they call the beautiful game, but it can also be the most cruel game there is in sports. And I think Rowdies summed it up perfectly that night. I thought they were 98 out of 100 for the entire night. They moved the ball defensively. They were compact. They stayed with their markers. Limited chances to the away team. And I just thought with the free kick for Nashville, when Lancaster went under the wall, which was a great play, John McCarthy got down and saved it. But if you're not in the wall, somebody has to follow up on the rebound. If you're not in the wall lining up, you are in charge when that ball comes through to follow up on John McCarthy's save and not have, I think the guy's name is Maloto, who's an excellent midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only guy that followed up and kicked the ball. I mean, McCarthy can't make 2 saves at point blank range. So it's a defensive error. But again, they were so good for so long, and that is soccer in a nutshell, sad to say. I think they did well to bounce back, again, continuing to do what they did, which is move the ball quickly in the last third, and as a result of that, create chances. They took their chance, thanks to El Capitan, but then again, just it's one of those instances where you tip your hat. Long ball over the top, Caleb Richards gets caught. I mean, he did nothing really wrong. It was just an excellent ball over the top. And that guy, the substitute that came on, he hit it perfectly into the last post. And he just tip your hat and walk away. Did everything right, 98 out of 100. Those 2 marks they got wrong. Conceded twice, lost the game 2-1.
Yeah, I think there's no question about it. That strike by Belmar in the second half was, I mean, that was a fantastic goal. And it's one of those things where, you know, there's no doubt about it. Like, one of the reasons why the sport is great is that the perfect shot can't be stopped, you know, and something that we talked about a couple weeks ago on our show, that was a perfect hit that he had. And unfortunately, it's one of those things. But at the same time, it's those kinds of moments that separate the good teams from the best teams. Yeah. And I think that's something that kind of, when we look back on, granted, we haven't barely dived into this game, but I think that's something that's going to be interesting and a real test for the Rowdies is, you know, you look at, like, if you watch the Indy game from last night, the Red Bulls had a defender make an outside the foot shot from like 25 yards out. And he smacks it into the far post, like, crossbar. And I mean, if it was a rocket, it would have been goal of the week for the USL if that had gone in. But, you know, it's those things where that's what separates it. And I think that's something that kind of worries me coming out of this game is that we need a few of those moments for ourselves. Yeah.
You know, I know as when you get so involved in it, you kind of forget some of those moments as well. Away to Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago, Kwadwo Poku comes on, plays a beautiful ball onto Lucky. Lucky finishes it and ties the game up at 1-1 on a game that the Rowdies were supposed to lose. So those Rowdies do have those moments. It just seems that in the last couple of weeks, it's been happening against the Rowdies more often than not. But, you know, Malik Johnson, who I think has just been a revelation, and I'm going to tie this all up, I promise. But he's been a revelation coming in on that right-hand side. You know, when Najim was there on the right-hand side, he was a lot more defensive-oriented, stayed home a lot. Tariq Murad was a lot more safe and sound in his bed, tucked away at night. Now with Malik Johnson marauding forward and creating all sorts of opportunities for us going forward, it kind of leaves Tarek Morad a little exposed in the back there, 2 against 1. Dominic Adura has a slide across. And as a result, more chances are getting created on the other end towards the Rowdies' goal on Papi Diakite, on John McCarthy. So I think it's a little bit of a domino effect. I think, but it kind of works out in the Rowdies' favor. They needed that offense. Too many times, teams will come and hunker down against the Rowdies, and it'll be a 0-0 draw with the ball just going side to side. So Malik Johnson offers that fire and that uncertainty in the last third. So I think the Rowdies just have to kind of live with it, with him being on the field, if you get my point. But I do think the Rowdies do have those moments, though, where they do create opportunities and score really good goals to get in the game. It just seems kind of unfortunate lately, but I think they're very much in the mix, and I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree. It was something actually we pointed out in the game against, I can't remember the opponent now, where Opoku was, I think it was the Birmingham game.
Yeah.
Where Opoku, we noticed the distance between the fact that Opoku was playing up against Morad almost man-to-man during that game, and Johnson is basically playing against the mark on his side of the field as far as the defender playing up. And it was interesting because you basically had this entire side of the field where there was nobody because both teams' midfielders are playing up. So there's absolutely credence to that thought because we see it. We've seen it a couple of times now, most notably in a couple of losses, strangely enough. But it's something that is noteworthy. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, though, as far as, certainly we've seen brilliant moments. Obviously, Poku, not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, had a couple of great goals, outside the box shots that, again, something we haven't done a lot of.
Yeah.
But one thing that's interesting is that, in the commentary of moments of brilliance, one thing that's really noteworthy is that post-game, Neil Collins said that, 99 out of 100 games, we're winning that result. And I would say that that's ultimately true, but here's one problem. 5 teams have us pegged, for lack of a better word. When you look at our combined record for New York Red Bulls 2, Nashville, Indy, Pitt, and North Carolina, we have a combined record in the games played against them of 3 wins, 4 losses, and a draw. Mm-hmm. Against everybody else, 18 games, we have 1 loss against everybody else in the East.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the Rowdies need to get over the hump of beating these top of the tier teams in the East? Because that's ultimately what's going to make or break us in the playoffs. What do you think the team is kind of lacking to get us over that hump?
I think they really need to get Juan Tejada going again. He brings so much more than scoring, okay? The guy is the first guy on defense. He's the first guy to upset your back line when you're trying to maneuver the ball through the midfield. He makes so much tireless runs that makes Gwenzaki open or takes pressure off of Leo Fernandez or Malik Johnson because he's constantly moving. He's creating space for others. But goals win matches. And not only win matches, goals change matches. Just like you saw when Nashville went up against the Rowdies, now you're away from home and you're like, you know what, Tampa, you gotta have to come at me a little bit now. I can sit back a little bit on the ropes, catch my breath. Goals change matches. So I think to try to get Tejada going on the score sheet, Tenari on the score sheet, it seems like Poku's doing his job. I'm not gonna even bring him up. He's doing fantastic. But to get those guys on the score sheet quicker, earlier, where the Rowdies can get up on opponents, and that changes the entire complexion. Easier said than done, but I think we need Juan Tejada to get going or Lucky to get back in and get going again.
All right, so we talked about the club a little bit. Let's talk about you because we didn't even know that there was going to be changes. I know, right? Getting to the good stuff now. I don't know if anyone else. I don't remember hearing anything about them making changes in the TV team in the off season, and then we started tuning into some of the preseason games and said, "Well, that's a new voice. That's it. Oh, this guy sounds like fun. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? How long have you been doing broadcasting? How did you end up in St. Petersburg?
Okay, well, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I came up for college in Orlando in 1994. Yes, I'm going to show off my age. And
that's okay. That puts you and me at about the same age then.
So good. There you go. Had a great experience. Orlando, minus Central Florida, so to Tampa included, minus the tropical storm that pops out within about 30 seconds. The weather is pretty, adjacent to the Caribbean for the most part. So I totally settled in, and I still love Central Florida and Florida in a whole. I did marketing, business. I always wanted to be a sports broadcaster, and I finally, after a while, built up the guts to follow my dream. And I started to do broadcasting for Rollins College over here.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know Rollins?
Yep.
So did a lot of games for them, between an analyst or play-by-play, and really got my feet wet with those guys. Did some basketball, and let me tell you, there's nothing funnier hearing a guy with an accent doing play-by-play basketball. That is fun. Yeah. I did baseball, which is even funnier, by the way. And then the Rowdies. Somebody put me through to Drew Felius last year, and Drew and I kind of hit it off on the phone. It was great, and it looks like the Rowdies wanted to make a move with the color analyst spot, and Drew picks up the phone, remembers our conversation, and gives me a call early on this year. I was so excited and honored for the opportunity. So Art Dreiss, who is the production manager, he instructed Drew to bring me in to do an audition with Drew. And I went in early on this year, and I don't know, we just kind of hit it off and really kind of stuck, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
And I got an opportunity to do the preseason games. I think that's when you guys heard me at first.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, the Al-Lan Stadium, don't throw anything at me, just hear me out. It kind of has the old kind of Fenway sort of nostalgic feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And Al-Lan is just, wow, talk about scenic and just intimate. And I just got the bug. I got the feeling, and I didn't want to look back. I really, tried my hardest to get the gig, and those guys saw that, and I think they appreciated that. And yes, so I got the chance to be part of this Rowdies family.
All right. So that's interesting, the fact that you have some experience in some of the other sports. Assuming that, of course, soccer is your favorite sport. What actually is your second favorite? I mean, it's interesting that you've got some experience in some other sports out there. I mean, what was your second favorite sport outside of soccer growing up?
Oh, my God. Cricket. You guys know about cricket?
That makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Oh, cricket is literally the baseball of many other parts of the world. So it's the second bat and ball sport, right? So those two guys share the honors for bat and ball sports, cricket and baseball. And my dad was actually a really successful cricket player, almost like a major leaguer for baseball. So I grew up in a very much cricket family and household. His brother, my uncle, was also let's just say a major leaguer in cricket. So yeah, grew up with that sort of culture in my home. And I played up to the last weekend before I came to the U.S. for school. So I just love cricket and I love soccer. So that would be my two favorite sports to call or to play.
They have, so I'm down here in Bradenton, just a little bit north of Sarasota on the other side of the Skyway, and one of the country clubs down here has cricket matches on occasion. And I have a friend I grew up on the other coast over in West Palm, and I've got friends who come over from there and they've got teams that, just kind of club teams they play on. And I've always wanted to go out and check it out. I have no idea what I'm looking at when I do it. I've tried to watch a couple games online or catch some stuff, and
Yeah.
I one of these days I'm going to do it. Maybe we can get you to come down. And you can explain what's going on to us while we're watching.
Cricket really is a lot of fun. In baseball, there's a lot of balls and strikes.
Mm-hmm.
Cricket and baseball is played in innings, right? So 9 innings. Cricket is played in overs, which is 6 pitches. We call it 6 deliveries. So it'll be one bowler / pitcher bowling 6 deliveries on one end, and then at the end of the over, another bowler / pitcher will bowl 6 deliveries from the other end. So cricket is played in overs. Just remember that.
Okay. All right.
That will kind of a little bit of sense.
See, we've got everything tonight. We've got soccer, we've got weather, we've got cricket. We got it all going tonight. So you haven't. I've noticed. You got online and you're on Twitter now, so we're following you there.
Yeah.
You haven't just been doing Rowdies games, but you've had a chance to do other USL games. And then we tried to set this up a few weeks ago, and you got the call to do a NWSL game. And I've seen, you watch some of like the NBC guys with the Premier League, and they show you they've got all this, intense, deep prep work, which you guys probably don't have the time to do. But, kind of at this level, like, what do you guys do for prep? How do you guys get ready going into a game for a week? Or something like that NWSL game where you get called on short notice. How do you prepare for that?
And just admit it, you listen to us every week, so I'm sure we help.
I do. I literally listen to you guys. You guys are, first of all, so entertaining, and you're kind of like the yin and yang, right? So you have one sort of feeding the conversation, and you have the other bringing facts, delivering facts to sort of juicing up the conversation. So it's actually, you guys make a great pairing, and it's very entertaining. So please don't ever stop what you're doing.
Yeah, we got the one that knows what he's talking about, and then the one who just says, "Tell me about this," and that's me, to kind of move it along. But going back, like, so how do you prepare for some of these games? If it's when you're doing like Western Conference teams and you don't see them on a regular basis, it kind of, I'm just trying to figure out in my head how you can possibly get that done and go into that.
Well, when we're assigned a game, we get a chance to talk to the coach usually 2 days before. Mm-hmm. So we get an inclination of what he's feeling. He'll give us some pretty good details. Like I'm doing the Charlotte Rowdies game this weekend.
Okay.
So I spoke to the Charlotte coach today, and he kind of gave us good inclination how he feels. They'll never disclose things like lineups for obvious reasons.
Right.
But we do get really good information packets from the Rowdies and from Charlotte. We get to go over notes, and you get to make like a spotting board almost for each team. So for each player, you will have trends. Like when Saber, when he scored this weekend, we'll have him 1 goal off from tying Georgie. And just to give you an example. So that will be prepared in case Saber scores, which he did. So every player will have trends that we will fill in by ourselves. It'll take a couple hours prep for each game. But these people are very generous with their information because they want a good product when the broadcast begins.
All right.
Does that help?
Yeah. So, obviously you can't say everything, tell everything that you've heard from the coaches.
Sure.
And sometimes we get a chance, when day jobs don't get in the way, we've gone out and watched Rowdies training and stuff like that before. Looking at this weekend's matchup, you've got the Rowdies who are desperate to get back on track. And get back into the slip down to 4th place now, but still only 4 points out of first. Against a Charlotte team that they made a coaching change early in the season. They had a little bit of a resurgence. They popped into the top 10. They've dropped out. It's looking kind of rough for them to maybe get back in there, but they haven't given up yet. They're not eliminated. What are you looking for in this game from both sides to see how it's going to play out?
Well, let's look at Rowdies on the road. Just a crazy record. I don't have it on hand right now, but it's a very, very impressive record on the road. Rowdies are very, very good at counter pressing. So, like, you're the host team. You're at home. You're trying to get 3 points. You're going to have possession of the ball. You're going to try to create flow. You're going to try to instigate the game and try to get on the board. Tampa is really good at pressing people, disrupting the play, and then countering and getting chances created as a result. So I think it's really hard for Charlotte for them to come out this weekend on Saturday and play a possession type of game, which they love to do. It's going to be really hard because of Tampa's personality, if you will. So I think it's going to be a little bit more of the Rowdies playing the host, even though they're playing away to Charlotte. They're going to be having a lot of the ball and trying to create opportunities. I just don't see Charlotte coming forward as much against other teams as they would against Tampa, even though they're the ones at home, if you get my point.
Yeah, having followed this team for 10 years now, a very good Rowdies team on the road is still something we're trying to wrap our heads around, because there's been very many years where it's not the case. And one of the things you always talk about it as fans is like, well, why don't you just go out and do what you do at home that makes you successful? Because they've had years where they've been unbeaten at home, and this year it seems like they're doing it. Like they're not intimidated by going on the road anymore, which is a very nice change for us as fans.
Can I say why, though? I mean,
this
is what we have to address. What Coach Neil Collins has done in the time that he's had the control of the Rowdies is nothing short of brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And not only tactics-wise, which he's been fantastic in doing, but setting a culture. The culture is what you do in practice is what you do on the field. So when guys show up on the game's on a Saturday, you get Sunday off. When guys show up on a Monday, you really have to practice hard. You can't just, I'm going to start next game, so I'll be okay. No, everybody has to prove themselves in that 5-day span for the next game, and the one who practices the hardest and impresses usually gets the nod. And everybody's been stepping up, as we've seen throughout the season. So what Coach Collins does on the road is everybody comes in with that same sort of mentality, tough, grind, not giving you an inch, doing all the basics well. And when you do the basics well, you are going to win a lot of games in this league. And that's a total testament to Coach Collins.
All right, and I don't assume that you have a chance to watch more of the Western Conference than we do. You've probably called some of those games. We were talking about this the last week or two. Like what Phoenix has done is incredible. No matter what you say about level of competition or anything else, to win 17 games is pretty unheard of. But from my point of view, I'm almost more impressed by what Birmingham has done in the last few games. As a first-year expansion team, they had that long run of not conceding a goal and kind of cementing themselves into a playoff spot right now. Kind of having watched both sides or both conferences, which one do you think is more impressive, or is Phoenix for real? Or, I mean, obviously they are, but how much of that goes into like the level of competition they're against?
So hard to tell. Great question, by the way. Phoenix is for real. All right, let's tick that box and put them to the side.
Mm-hmm.
With the rest of the Western Conference, we just can't get a good feel for. It's so up and down. There's no rhythm to the Western Conference other than Phoenix. I think Eastern Conference is deeper this year, just for the amount of teams fighting for those top 5 spots. I think they're deeper. That being said, if Phoenix holds serve and comes through on the other end of the Western Conference, wow, what a final that would be, because I think 4 or 5 teams in the Eastern Conference can lock horns with Phoenix in the final,
Yeah. I think with the Western Conference, the only 2 things are guaranteed is that Phoenix is going to win and Vegas is going to get at least 2 red cards.
Either way, very entertaining, right?
Exactly. There's something to bring some people back for the next game if it's their first time.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up your entire evening. We appreciate you coming on with us. One last thing that I want to ask you, and I don't know if Stephen has any other questions. How do you manage to work in such close proximity to Ryan Sudol several weeks out of the year?
Ryan is amazing. This guy is so like friendly and helpful. Gives advice. He's a great guy, and I love the fact that you guys rag on him. And I tell him every time I see him, I'm like, Ryan, those guys are ragging on you big time. So he's an amazing guy, and very, very fortunate to rub shoulders with him. And yes, we do work in close proximity, much to my grief.
Now, has he told you why we pick on him so much? Because there's a specific reason.
You know, I want to hear your point of view first. Please.
All right. So, yeah, and we kid around with him all the time. We love Ryan. But we used to do the show. So I don't know if you were aware of this. The Rowdies used to own a restaurant in downtown St. Pete. What is it now? Ford's Garage, I think, and the other part closed. That used to be a place called Rowdy's Den, and we were doing the shows live out of there for a while. And you know, the coach at the time, Thomas Rongan, would stop by. We'd have players stop in. We had fans come in, and Ryan would show up every now and then. And you know, we had everything set up. We've got the mixing board plugged in. We've got and we're right in the middle of the show, and he gets up to, I guess, go to the bathroom or something, and just kicks the power cord, pulls everything out of the wall, middle of the show. So ever since then, I always give him a hard time about it. But yeah, he'll send me a message every now and then and say, "What did you guys say this week?" Because Davis wants to know why you guys are picking on me so much, and I'm just like, well, because he's Ryan.
No, when you say kick, did he do like soccer player, get all the laces on it and just drill it?
It was totally unintentional, but
Sudol's not that athletic. Let's not give him that much credit.
Yeah, God. It was totally unintentional, but he got the full force behind it. It was one of those, like, you know, he was just just took a step and just hit it exactly right.
That's like a perfect soccer player. I'm impressed.
We got to have him taking set pieces after that one.
If you're gonna kick a mixer board, kick it properly.
And all of a sudden, and we're talking, and it didn't catch on at first because it's on the floor and it's a couple feet away from us, and I'm like, why don't I hear anything anymore? And people are sending us messages online like, you're off the air. So but to be fair, he did sell us all the equipment, so I guess he's allowed to do that. When we started doing this show, we'll let him buy with one of those. So are you going to Charlotte for the game, or are you calling it from a remote location?
Yeah, I'm going to call it from a remote location. Would love if you guys tune in. I think it's going to be a good one, and I really hope that the Rowdies could, almost like Memphis, get back into rhythm really quickly. And, you know, like we talked about, they did everything right against Nashville. Don't get me wrong. The rhythm was there. Sorry. I think when you get that goal, it changes the game. Confidence goes back up. That means everything you did from the back going forward is working because you can put the ball in the back of the net. And that spreads throughout the team when you can get an early goal. You know what I mean?
They're an entirely different team. I think most teams probably are, but they are an entirely different team.
Yeah.
It gives them the confidence. It lets the defense play a little more aggressively, knowing they've got that cushion. When they got that first one, what was, I can't remember. I've got a case of the Stevens where I can't remember who it was. The game where it poured, the next to last home game. They got that goal 11 minutes in, and I think it was against Memphis, wasn't it? Yeah, because it's when Joachim was back. They get that first goal, and you just, you know, you can tell it's going to be one of those nights.
Yes. I'll tell you what, and this is something I'll probably see in the broadcast on Saturday, but your forwards, let's say Tejada and Guenzati, let's just say that for this weekend. Chances being created for them is a barometer of how the team is playing. If chances are being created on a regular basis, that means from the back three to Aduro to Poku to Tanari to the two wingers, things are working properly and the plan is working. That means chances, you know, those guys are getting good looks on goal. When chances are not being created, you have to start looking back towards, from the back three all the way up to the midfield and see what the problem is. So they did everything right against Nashville. Chances were created. Just want to see them do that again on Saturday.
All right. Well, Ryan, thanks for joining us. We'll definitely be watching and listening on Saturday night. It'd be nice to hear a familiar voice, hopefully calling a win for the Rowdies. And let's do this again sometime in the near future. Maybe before the playoffs, we can get a little insight into it.
Sure. Anytime you guys want, just shoot me a text, and I'm on.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Have fun this weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that went well.
That was awesome.
That was fun. For a show that doesn't get a chance to do that very often, that was a lot of fun.
Especially having someone on live like that. Like that's a lot of fun. I love talking to some of these guys. And honestly, like when we first were hearing his voice on the air, it was, all right, who is this? And then we got a name, and I'm Googling names, and I'm like, okay, this name that's coming up is not a soccer broadcaster. I was getting other Ryan Davises, and finally found some mentioned somewhere, and I'm like, okay, so because there was no announcement, there was no like, hey, this is what we're going to do this year, but he's done a fantastic job. I like what he's added to the broadcast. Him and Drew seem to have a good chemistry, like he talks about, and he's it's all you can kind of picture. Like Drew is kind of the serious one. The Drew is the you, and he's the me. Except he actually knows the game too, and I don't know crap. So thanks again, Ryan, for coming on.
That's not to say anything against like Mike Pepper and the team from last.
Oh God, no!
Year. They were fun. We had fun with them. We got a chance to talk and meet with them and converse with them plenty of times. We love those guys too. It's all part of the business. We all get that. But
yeah, Pepper lives on in the theme song because I'm never taking the bagels call out.
Yeah, heck no.
I got to find a way to mix in some Ryan Davis calls. I got to get a reel and pick up some good goal calls from him and mix them in.
I'm just saying, his best call from the season so far this year was, this was like 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. I'd have to really dig to find the comment, but
just tell me the game and who scored. I'll find the quote and put it in there.
He was asked about the team and Collins putting together this team, and he says it's a bowl of soup, and we have put in just the right amount of basil and oregano, and he just like starts naming off all these spices. And we're all just like, first of all, he's absolutely from the Caribbean. There's no question about it there. And it was just a great call because it was like, you really must like soup. It was like Drew was just like, you're obviously either hungry or you like making soup. It was such a great moment in the call.
And honestly, I'll say this: when I heard the voice for the first time, I knew instantly where he was from because one of my really good friends growing up from middle school and high school is from Trinidad, and it's you you pick up that accent right away when you hear it, it. So I was like, all right, let's find out what the story is here. But that was awesome. Thanks again, Ryan, for joining us. We will definitely do this again in the future because your voice sounds cooler than either of ours. I did. We mentioned the Uber conference has the webcam set up, and we're actually like looking at each other now. I told him he didn't have to do that if he didn't want to. He said, well, let me go get my Rowdies onesie real quick and put it on. He said, I'll go grab my kilt. We'll make this a fancy show. So I kind of feel like we've covered a lot of the game, but I know you have prodigious notes.
I took, and of course nobody can see this, but I took.
See, this is how this is your John Strong moment right here. Where you've got the giant folder with all the stuff in it.
Oh my gosh, I've got so much because I really wanted to break down. There's no question about it. We should have won this game.
Okay.
Or at least tried. Getting a loss was really, really unfortunate of a result against Nashville. The big thing for me, one of the comments that we've obviously made on the show many a time is the lack of shooting from distance. We actually took 7 shots out of the box this past weekend. Mind you, 7 out of what I think like 20 was officially recorded total. That's actually significant because it shows that they actually did try and do that. Here's the only unfortunate part is that of those 7, only 1 of them actually made it through on frame. 5 of them were blocked, which is credit to Nashville's defense. And that's the kind of defensive effort we're going to be seeing against those 5 teams that I mentioned earlier, who we have a losing record against those 5 teams. And we've only lost 1 game against everybody else. So, that's something that's going to be important as far as figuring out ways to create the space to do it. Because I think one thing, I don't know, it's weird because we played a much more balanced attack this week. We were not one-dimensional. at all.
Right.
But I think to what Ryan Davis was saying is something that's very true, because one of the things that I noticed in this game was how just absolutely absent from the field Tejada seemed to be most of the night. So, like, for instance, he only made 13 touches in the second half. He went 6 for 7 passing, had 1 dribble that was lost, had 2 shots on target, and he won 2 fouls. He only had 10 touches in the first half. So he literally, for 90 minutes, touched the ball 23 times, from what, if I counted correctly.
Which is
That's
nowhere near enough.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
And that's just not near enough. And well, that's one of the things that's interesting, is that he's made a name for himself on coming back and causing issues coming back off the field, because that gives and opens up space for Malik on the wing, is when he drops into that midfield role to try and pressure, on a quick possession change. That's what creates a lot of space. And I think that was something that was really unfortunately lacking this week. The other thing for me, and I have harped on it before, I'm going to harp on it again, and I am going to continue to harp on it. We so desperately need Zach Steinberger to get healthy, because Gonzatti is not an attacking midfielder.
I did see that set of tweets when I think you posted it, and then Amy was just like, Jeff's sister Amy was like, no. Just no.
He's a goal scorer. He's a great goal scorer. He's not a passer, and he's not an assist guy.
But you know what? The funny thing about that is, coming into the season, seeing him playing up top, the first thing we all said was, Seba's not a forward. He's not your guy to lead the line like that. And here we are with 7 games left to go, and he set the single season franchise scoring record.
Exactly. And that's part of the point, though, right?
Right.
That we've converted that role for him. Why not just keep riding the wave? Just keep riding it.
Yeah.
He's scoring goals. He almost had that one goal to make a 2-1 lead against Nashville this weekend, where it was just inches away from him on a far post when he slid to try and grab it. We were a couple of inches away from taking the lead shortly into that second half, which honestly was heartbreaking because it was so close. But that's a big difference as far as this game, because here's something to consider, right? They took out Tanari, put in Lucky, and they switched Squeezy into the midfield role. Tanari in the second half was 15 for 19 passing up until the 70th minute. So from 45th minute to 70th minute, he went 15 for 19 passing. Gonzatti, as an attacking midfielder for the final 20 minutes of the game, went 5 for 8. He touched the ball 20 times in the 20 minutes that he had the ball. Tanari had touched it 21 times in the second half before he got subbed off. So it only, and again, I'm feeding my own personal bias here, right? There's no
Right.
question about it. I'll take that as far as, if you want to criticize me for the viewpoint, that's fine. But that to me is significant, because it only does reinforce the point that I'm making, is that Gonzatti he doesn't have the eye for it. Like, and obviously there's a reason that Tanari starts as an attacking midfielder. There's a reason we've had Steinberger when Tanari was hurt, that Steinberger was the attacking mid. There are reasons for that. I don't know if the reason why Tanari came out was injury hypothetical related, because I think if that was a coaching tactical change, I think that was a mistake. And if we want to go down a good, bad, ugly for this week, I actually have 3. But like that, I think to me that was part of the problem for the end of the second half, because we honestly, in my opinion, we didn't generate a lot of offense in the last 20 minutes of that game. And it's interesting to note that Belmar, who scored that goal, came in as a sub, like, a couple minutes?
Yeah, he was not on long before he
was
scored.
on the field, I think, for like 8 minutes, and he came in and just perfectly did it. So kudos to Nashville for making subs that were impactful. So I don't know. That was a couple of things that I noticed as far as the game. I don't think we challenged enough centrally. in the transition, like if we lost possession of the ball, I don't think we did enough pressure centrally in the field when they did get the ball. I think that impacted and allowed Nashville at times to get too comfortable with it. Because, again, it's something that we point out. It's that high press that makes us so good this year, and I think that's unfortunate. But I do need to take a moment here to throw some egg on my face, though. And that has to do with the fact that I said a very much of a challenge to the whole league last week, saying you'll never beat us when you go against us in a 3-back. I want to point out the numbers behind that statement and the reason why I did it. Okay. Did you know that that's the first game we have allowed a goal when we played against a team with 3 defenders? And that's not just once or twice. We had 6 shutout games against teams playing a 3-back set against the Rowdies this year.
I would not have, just going off memory, would not have thought we had that many games against teams playing 3 in the back.
Yeah, we had a plus 13 goal differential, no goals allowed, 4 wins and 2 draws against teams playing a 3-back against the Rowdies. That was not just the first goal that we had, it was the first loss and everything. Like, there's a reason why I did the issue that challenge, and it's so embarrassing that, of course, we lost. So I'm going to take all the egg on the face. It is what it is. I got a couple people pointing it out on Twitter this week.
Well, hey, I tried to be clever.
There was a reason. There was a very legitimate reason why I had said what I said last week, is because we were really that dominant.
Right.
To teams doing that.
Well, and I tried to be clever, and I tweeted out from the main podcast account some interesting stats when I went through the notes that we got from the teams Friday night, and what I looked at was average, the time of scoring. So the Rowdies always seem to score in the last 15 minutes of each half. That is where the majority, I think half of their goals on the season had come in the last 15 minutes of each half. Nashville, however, tends to score in the second half, but in the first 30 minutes, and I think everything got flipped on its end. Like, they scored late to win it. We scored earlier in the game to bring it level. Everything, and I was like, oh man, I've found some trends here. Here's good times to watch certain things. Everything was just flipped around backwards.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate result, but this is just one of those things where, of course, again, and Neil is right. 9 times out of 10, we're winning that game. And against most teams in the league, we do. But I think for me, if we're going to start the transition for looking at season results compared to what we're going to look like in the playoffs, this is another one of those examples of a close game that we lose in the playoffs. And
right.
And we're going to have to find a way. Because the other stat that's important to note for this game, one of the other really eye-popping results, if we've come back from deficits in this season. Okay, it doesn't happen very often because we're not exactly behind very often. But there is one thing we have not overcome this year. If we are losing the game at halftime, we have not come back to win a game in that situation this season.
Wow.
So, and that's something that concerns me, because you're not going to have a lead or a draw at halftime in the playoffs every single round. We have got to figure out a way.
Maybe if we go on the road, we can.
Say what?
Maybe if we play on the road, we can.
Yeah, right. But no, it's almost like, I mean, this is not official. I'm just saying this would be kind of funny to just let Charlotte score an early goal, and then that way we can try and practice coming back in the second half against a team we know we can do it against. But no, I mean, that's something that concerns me. Especially, like I said, as we get closer, we're 8 games away from playoffs now. That's a little thing that it's a little nugget that's kind of eating away at me, going, I don't know if our team can really do it. Can we actually get into the later rounds of the playoffs? Can we? I mean, in some ways, you almost want to wonder if we can finish in that top 4 some ways. But, it's those characteristics of teams that make the difference when we start talking about the best compared to the good.
Right. I want to go back to that real quick, and we'll use this to kind of wrap up talking about this game, because It's already 8:55.
That's all right. It's been a good show.
It has been. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. You put out a mention on there where, based, and I kind of did something like this earlier in the season. We got off to that great start. Was it 13 unbeaten? And now it kind of feels like we're going to come back to. I mean, we have come back to earth a little bit. Let's not sugarcoat it. We're sitting in fourth place right now, even though, like I said, we're only 4 points out of first, but we're also only 2 points out of fifth. Like the teams behind us are.
Yeah, we could easily be in fifth place right now,
or sixth. I mean, Pittsburgh is 2 points behind us. North Carolina. If North Carolina doesn't get absolutely just blasted 4-0 by Loudoun United, we'd be level on points with them. It and we've got the win tiebreaker, we've got the goal difference tiebreaker, but there's still some stiff competition, and Louisville isn't the Louisville of the last 2 years, but even right now they're only 6 points behind us. Like there's a lot of room, a lot of ways that we can move up or down in this. I still think we finish in the top four. And someone I forget who it was on Twitter, and I apologize to them because I'm going to steal their reasoning. When you look at what we have left, and I put this out there to Total Soccer Show, and they didn't get back. I thought they were going to mention it the other day because they mentioned someone's name that sounded a lot like mine, but it wasn't. Indy's going to have a lot of games coming quickly. They're going to have midweeks and then short week turnarounds and stuff like that. We've only got one more Wednesday game, and we've got a Friday game. And we're playing. We go away to Charlotte this weekend. Let's be honest, we should win that game. And then we come back. We've got Atlanta United 2 at home. We should win that game. We go to Ottawa. A draw wouldn't surprise me, but we could win that game. That's definitely a winnable one. Then Bethlehem Steel comes here. We should win that game. We go to Louisville City, which Louisville's not Louisville, but Slugger Field is still Slugger Field, and that plays a bigger role in this game than in these games than I think anything else ever gets mentioned. Then we go to Loudoun United, and I say we should win that game.
Yeah, no.
North Carolina shouldn't have lost 4-0.
And I think they're on the verge of getting what is his name, Assad. Yassil Assad.
He's cleared and ready to go from what I saw as of earlier this week. Like he'll play this weekend.
I saw a tweet that said he's officially signed a USL contract to finish out this season, and then he'll join DC United next year. And that's an absolutely quality player in his prime compared to somebody like a Dominic Aduro that we're going to face this weekend. Like Assad playing against the center defenders in this league kind of is scary. So yeah, Loudoun's nothing to sneeze at going forward.
Yeah, and then we have Indy coming here, which that's going to be a tough game. That's a good game.
That's basically a playoff game. That's a playoff game.
Yeah,
I mean, you might as well use that as playoff warm up.
And I mean that's the home finale, the regular season finale. That's the next to last game, regular game of the regular season game. I think there'll be some places decided by the result in that game. It would not surprise me. And then on the road to Hartford, which we should win that game. I think, if we look at the games we have and also the way our schedule lines up with only having one midweek and one like a Friday game, that's the other thing. We'll get like 8 days off. We'll get an extra day off before Indy. So, maybe we can put that to good use. I think we're still a top 4 team in the end.
Those 8 games, if you look at the opponents right now in away versus home, how do you see the final record for those 8 games? Because I have a thought. I mean, I've got a prediction, but I wanted to see. Can you make a prediction for how you think these last 8 are going to go?
All right. I say we're going to win in Charlotte. We're going to win against Atlanta. We're going to win against Bethlehem. We're going to beat Loudoun. Might be close. It might be a little squeaky bum time in that one, but we're going to win that one. I say we beat Indy. And I say we beat Hartford. So,
wow.
Yeah. Now I'm going to say this is best case scenario. That there's 6 wins. Ottawa and Louisville, ideally, I mean, you'd want to win them. I don't think a draw kills us. It wouldn't shock me if we drop one of those. But we've got 2 games here in 2 weeks coming up that a chance to rebuild some of the confidence against teams that we should beat going into that Ottawa game, which it has been trickier than for us than more often than not in the past, but I believe we're the better team. We'll just see what happens going on the road in another country. Probably, honestly, last trip to Ottawa, because I really think they're going to end up in Canadian Premier League next year, or they might do like a 1-year hiatus and then hop in there. So, nice to get a win if possible. I think we've got a lot of points we can pick up in here. I don't know that we finish top in the East, but second or third is about where I have us bracketed.
I'll say this for just the doom and gloom, because I'm not going to necessarily break it down game by game. I'm saying in the last 8, my prediction is 4-2-2. That's going to be what I'm going to go. You're going 6-1-1. I'm doing 4-2-2.
Yeah, give me 6-1-1. That's good.
So, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'll have that written down. We'll find out who's closer by the end. Just for giggles.
I hate to do this because I really wanted to do this tonight, but I think we got to push the Open Cup stuff again.
Yeah, why not talk about it? We had a good guest. Everybody's in line. We've had a good show. You all are listening, and you better.
But we can make that like our whole big segment for the next game. Like that can be our replacement.
We say that every week, and then
I know
it's be like, oh hey, we got a guest.
But
so there's some other breaking news story. Or
my thing coming into this is like I've got a bunch of disparate ideas, and I want to try and see if I can kind of knit them all together into like one complete thing.
In other words, you're saying you need another week to prepare for that segment.
I need a week to properly prepare. I've got a little preparation done.
All right. Well,
plus it's already 9 o'clock, and I still got to grade some papers tonight too, so that factors into it also.
So what we'll do, just to kind of make sure everybody's up to speed on the table itself.
I wish I had asked Ryan about that, honestly, to get his take on Open Cup, but maybe we can arrange for a guest next week and kind of do like a round table.
There you go. Yeah, we'll figure something out. We'll figure out how to organize the show eventually. As I said on Twitter, we're Technical Glitches FC Podcast. So
you know who'd be fun to talk to about this? Rob Stone. Wait. Let me make sure, because I know he checks up on this. Former 24/7 champion Rob Stone.
Yeah.
I don't want to anger the champ.
Forever, amen.
I just love that he won a championship represented by a green and gold belt on the anniversary of the Rowdies' first NASL championship. Serendipity.
Yeah, that's.
He set it up like that. He set it up. All right, so run us through where the table is right now.
All right, so real quickly here, going through 1 through 10. New York Red Bulls are still on top, but that gap is small. Nashville, with the win this past weekend, does jump to second. Indy, with a lot of games in hand, is third. Obviously, the Rowdies come in fourth. Right behind them and with a game in hand is Pittsburgh. North Carolina comes in after that, after they got shellacked this past weekend unexpectedly. Following them is Louisville in 7th place. Rounding out the bottom half of the playoff is Ottawa, Birmingham, who continues to just not lose. And guess who's back in a playoff spot because they've won 2 games this week is St. Louis. Hey, I'm just saying.
They're not going to finish there.
And funny enough, falling out of the official 10 playoff team line, number 11 is Charleston Battery, something we've been predicting for months. And then the end of the table is, of course, Bethlehem, Charlotte, Loudoun, Memphis, Atlanta, Hartford, Swept Park. Nobody cares about any of those teams because they all suck. Have
they mentioned a makeup day? Because Charleston had to cancel a game because of the hurricane.
It was what, Memphis, Charleston?
Yeah. Which you got to think for Charleston, that if you can get a chance to put a probable 3-pointer at the end of the season with a playoff spot on the line, that could get interesting.
I'll say this though, they have a lot of games to make up. So they're going to be playing the same amount of games as Indy is for the rest of the year. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one for them to play through. The big thing is the fact that now
don't count Swope Park out either. They still have 20. They're on 24 games. They could turn this around. They've got.
They might make 15th or something.
Hey, they could win the rest of their games, and still finish behind currently North Carolina.
Yeah, sure. I'll go to bed on that one. I will say this as far as stuff. Birmingham's on a tear, so games that anybody playing them is going to be a tough match. Loudoun is going to be tough for the end of the year. especially with somebody like Assad coming on. They've also played pretty well at their new little stadium, so that's something noteworthy.
Yeah, I think the stadium's giving them a boost, it seems like.
And St. Louis winning 2 games this week is kind of makes everybody kind of question it. Are they coming back to form for the previous year? Obviously, we've got in one corner, we have Matthew Cox. Ding, ding, ding. He's saying absolutely
no.
not with his Georgie bobblehead.
That's Georgie
right
saying no.
Camera screen.
And Georgie knows.
I'm just saying.
Did you just now notice? Because Georgie's been there for like the last 15 minutes.
Oh, no. I've seen it for a long time. It scared the crap out of me when I first saw it. But, of course, I wasn't going to say anything because we were in the middle of a segment.
I'll post a picture later, but I was ducking down so you just see my headphones on like Georgie's head, like he's doing the show.
That's awesome. But points per game, not a ton of unexpected surprises, but it's worth noting that Indy officially, because the games in hand are in first place on the points per game. Red Bulls and Nashville come in at 2 and 3. Rowdies are still number 4.
But 0.01 behind, like Nashville.
They're virtually even.
Nashville, us, and Pittsburgh are in a knot right there.
The big point being is that us being in 4th or 5th is pretty interchangeable at this point, which is why some of the results have been concerning, considering we've lost 4 of the last 6. But continuing on, North Carolina, Louisville, Ottawa, and then Birmingham. So that's pretty much mimics what we're looking at. The points per game table, Charleston and St. Louis are officially 0.01 difference.
Yeah, there's a flip-flop with them between here and the regular table.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see. That's going to be a tough match all the way down to the end. I think St. Louis pulls in. Matt, you're thinking that St. Louis doesn't, but do you think Charleston will end up finishing, on your opinion, or do you think somebody like a Loudon might make some crazy tear at the end?
So I'm going to officially take the L on my prediction that Charlotte would finish in the playoff spot. I don't think St. Louis does it either, though. And again, and you talk about personal biases, I just do not like Anthony Pulis at all. So part of this comes from I don't have any faith in him getting this team there. Honestly, I think if he had a different last name and if the area was the ownership was more focused on USL than MLS, then he might not be employed right now. I think Charleston, and I'll say this: whoever is in 10th place at the end of the season, it will be as surprised as we are that they got there. I think Birmingham's locked into that 9 spot. I think they're going to keep winning some games. They just, you know what, they're 4 points ahead of St. Louis and 3 points behind Ottawa. I'm pretty sure I don't see them falling apart and missing the playoffs. That would be a huge surprise to me if that happens. I think your top 9 right now are basically locks, and I think 10th place is going to be it's going to be one of those where you're watching 2 games side by side to see who scores at what point to get to like the 4th. You know, someone's going to get a yellow card, and that's going to be the tiebreaker because they're going to lose out on fair play points or something, which would be fun to watch, honestly, to see that happen. I don't know. I'm going with Charleston at this point, just because I don't see Bethlehem doing it. I don't see St. Louis doing it. Like Charleston's kind of in there by default.
Well, I'll say this. Do you know what does matter, though? If we're just deciding to take Sharpies and draw on maps and do whatever we want, do you know what really matters? Do you know the only table that matters? And, of course, you can't see this, but...
Yeah.
there
Hold
we
on.
go.
The glare.
All right. It is the In Our Hearts table, and number 1 is the Rowdies, and number 2 is everybody else.
I'm surprised
so that's
that
my handwritten. That's my handwritten.
I'm surprised everyone else was even in second. You got to put everyone else like way down in last.
Okay, wait. So quick edit. 2 is everybody else we like, and then number 3 is going to be the USL Eastern Conference teams that we hate. So teams that we hate. And I'll do an A backwards or something just for giggles because of the context of it all. And see there, now it's been updated. So
everybody else, and then actually below them, relegated is Pro's like Sunday League team.
Okay, wait, I got one better. If we're having fun with this, number 4 is PRO. Number 5 is the team out east. There you go. All right.
And above all of those
Had
would
to
be
throw in
Hurricane
some fun
Dorian.
with that.
All right. Let's take a look at Charlotte going into this weekend, what we're going to see. Charlotte is 5-11-10 overall. They've won all 5 at home. They're 5-6-1 at home. They're 0-4-1 in their last 5. The Rowdies drew here 1-1 on April 27th. Their Domaduro is the leading scorer, 7 goals. Herrera with 6. Jackson with 4. Guenzati almost has them all beat combined.
Yeah.
With assists, Enzo Martinez leads with 6, and then is it Alex or Alexis? I always forget.
I never even looked it up.
We're gonna get yelled at by Soccer Goose. I can just see this. A Martinez with 5 assists, Enzo Martinez 45 shots, Hera with 29, Jackson with 26, Enzo Martinez with 48 chances. A Martinez 35, Johnson with 23. Enzo Martinez pops up a lot. He's the kind of the guy they lean on offensively. He's also the only guy, maybe more likely than our Domaduro or Papi Diakite, to get a yellow or a red card for some bizarre incident in this game. So he's a major factor for them, but he's just as likely to go. They've kept 4 clean, or is that 4 clean sheets total, or just for that one keeper? Do you know?
For keeper, and
Okay.
that's the leader of it. They've had 5 total.
Okay. They're allowing 1.6 goals per game. We've got to score.
You have to score.
And preferably not
score a
waiting.
lot.
Preferably not waiting for like the 75th minute for our Domaduro on a debut to scorch a rocket into the. Although, I'm never gonna. I'm at the point out. So it used to be when Dan did the show. It was I always brought up how I was at the NHL championship game and he wasn't. Nowadays, I introduce myself as I'm Matt and I was in Charlotte for Domaduro's rocket. And actually, by that point, because it was
which it's worth pointing out that he doesn't do it enough anymore.
no,
When was the last time you saw a Domaduro rocket chance?
not in a while.
Like 2 months ago?
Yeah,
That's fascinating to me.
maybe visiting the old haunt will
I have it.
going in the
Because
notebook.
Johnson
We've got
because
props now that
Johnson-
we have cameras.
Because Johnson has pushed up more often in the second half of the season, that means that Doro can't push up as far as he normally would, and that's the reason why he's not up there to take more shots. There's a theory.
All right. So I know there are some. I think I know some people are making the trip for this game. I wish I could go this weekend. I had a lot of fun in Charlotte. The Charlotte guys are cool. We ended up Adam Martin and I ended up like second half. We kind of went from our side of the stands over, and we just had like one big mixed group because we'd been hanging out drinking with them before the game, and they gave us rides to the game. So it's a lot of fun. So it's not the most. There's not a ton of amenities in there in the stadium. If there's no food trucks, then there's no food. Unless like last year, that game was sponsored by Takis, and they were handing out bags of Takis, and I, being a middle school teacher, know all about Takis, so wisely skipped them. But on the discipline card front, Domaduro is 1 card away from his second accumulation suspension, but if he makes it through this game, he gets 1 wiped out, which is good because he's also been joined this week by Pop de Akite, is also 1 yellow away from an accumulation suspension. And my bold prediction for this game is that one of them is getting a yellow.
And yeah, that's possible. I will say this. The big thing about this weekend is the fact that Charlotte of late has been doing a lot of rotation on their back line for their center defenders. So I think that is going to be interesting. It's also going to be interesting to see how they line up against us. They typically do, I think, like a 4-2-3-1 normally. At least that's what they've been doing more often than not in the last few games. It'll be interesting to see if they play that again. I know at times they've played a 4-3-3 in the past, as far as recently is concerned. There's no doubt about it. Enzo Martinez is their attacking bread and butter. He's their center attacking midfielder. Everything goes through him. But, at the same time, their goal scorer essentially is just, they're not scoring enough. Herrera and Aduro is just not they're not scoring a lot of goals. So I don't know if maybe that's a weakness in the formation compared to the personnel. That would be hard. It'd take a whole season of watching them to really know that for sure. But there's no question about it. Their last victory was 8 games ago. They're coming into this game for the month of August with 2 losses and 2 draws, giving up 9 goals and only scoring 5. So you got to go in and you have to hammer them, and you got to hammer them early. Like, it'd be great to come out if we've been doing the trend that we've been doing where we win 5-0 and then lose, and then win 5-0 and lose and win 5-0. Here's a chance to get another 5-0 victory, because like we need to just absolutely bury this team for what I see.
Yeah, I mean, we need to win this game because we need the result. We want the 3 points, but also this is a team that home or away we should beat. It was a disappointment to draw here to them earlier in the season. We got to go with the win. Let's do predictions and then let's wrap this up.
All right, my prediction for this weekend, I think that the Rowdies will go ahead and finish this result 3-1.
Okay. I don't have a gut feeling on this one. Usually I have some kind of gut. I'll go 3-0 just to be contrarian. Another road clean sheet.
Fair enough.
This is fun. The camera makes this fun. This
does make it fun.
We could do some other stuff with this now. I got some ideas. Not like, well, maybe weird ones, but not really weird ones. All right, I'm gonna
get too weird.
Well, so next week we'll be back on regular time Wednesday night. The week after, though, is the last Wednesday home game of the year. We will be at Shamrock doing another live post game show. Hopefully the Rowdies get a good result so the entire bar doesn't clear out before we can get on air like it did last time, except for the people throwing coasters at us.
And then maybe we'll do the idea of trying to have something where if you're at Shamrock, you can be able to listen to the show live while we're on air. Because I know right now that's one thing that's been an issue is trying to figure out how to make that happen and work without kind of like ruining the show audio. So that's something that we're actually going to be trying to figure out. So that'll be something to look forward to in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I was thinking because I bet there's a way with one of these streaming things that because they've got one of the Roku TVs there that we could play it over the air also. But I'm also wondering if the sound of that's going to throw us off. We might just. I'm going to be there tomorrow night for the USA Mexico game. I'll talk to Ian and Derek because those are the guys that run everything. All right, we love you. This is easy.
Oh, this is obvious. Come on now.
Well,
this isn't even a competition.
Actually, I got a tie.
What?
First, to Gweezy for setting the single-season franchise scoring record, albeit in a loss. You got to give him some love for that. Like I said, we said earlier, it's a guy that kind of at the beginning of the year, we're like, I don't know if playing him up top as a striker is the best idea, but he has definitely proved that it's the spot for him. He said he wanted to play more often, and it's paid off. But also, to the person who actually made this show worth listening to, Ryan Davis, thank you for joining us. We will definitely do that again in the near future. Because it's better it's just better around. Look, we know it makes it better, so we'll have him on again. You got anything else to throw in for We Love You?
No, because obviously my We Love You was pretty obvious with Ryan. So we love you. Thank you very much for joining us. That was a lot of fun, and we hope to have you on again sometime this year.
I mean, we definitely love you more than Sudol, so.
Well, this is true.
I mean, obviously. Thanks, as always, to Wolfface, to Radio St. Pete, and to Shamrock for all the things they do and let us do to make this show possible. Thanks to you guys for listening and tuning in and continuing to find time for us in your schedule, whether you're listening live right now or later on the podcast. You can help us out by sharing, subscribing, rating, and reviewing. If you'd like to support us on an ongoing basis, go to patreon.com/unusedSubsPod. And find a level that works for you. It'll work for us. We're happy for anything that you were able to and willing to give. Thank you to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. I know I mentioned it last time. They are selling, they do have a Rowdy scarf on there. However, I will say that if you want a scarf not being sold directly by the team that has a big COYR on it, I still have a couple of last year's left over.
There
We
you
did
go.
it first. This is like the Simpsons did it, except Unsubbed did it. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to push the button here that plays the outro song, but I don't know if it's actually going to play. I'll just edit it in later. If
Yeah,
it doesn't,
right?
we'll just pretend. I think I may have found what the problem was.
Well,
I say
either
that a
way,
lot, but we'll see.
This is true. It's Technical Issues FC podcast. That's for certain. But either way, go Rowdies. We love you all. Thanks for listening.
And actually, if what I think I did works, then the theme might have been playing at the beginning, and just we couldn't hear it, but everyone else might have been able to. We'll find out. Let's see.
Well, that'll be interesting. Sorry, folks, if that's what happened.
I don't think I even tried to play it when we went back on again. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. We'll see you guys later.
The rallies one here, the rallies one there, they kick the wall around. The rallies one here, the rallies one there.